But generally, Ryan, what is going on with the transfer window? What is happening?
Yeah, it's been a frustrating window for Celtic, shall we say, especially in the last couple of weeks. There's it's been fairly quiet. Obviously, there's negotiations going on in the background. Jacob Broom's one of the ones that we're talking about just now. But yeah, it's a bit. I don't buy into like people freaking out over signings, and I do feel as if Celtic have still got. There's 5 weeks until the transfer window closes. Yeah. The point I was making the other week is that there is a looming deadline of, I think it's Thursday, August the 14th, for the Champions League squad to be registered. Now Celtic need to get players in for that registration period. And I think at a bare minimum, you need to have another winger in there, because Celtic just simply cannot rely upon a 34-year-old James Forrest, who's been excellent in pre-season, by the way. He's been absolutely brilliant. Daizen Maeda, and then a backup of Marco Tilio and Yang, who actually Brendan Rodgers has described as one of his first team starters. That just that's a kind of alarming prospect. And I understand why fans are getting a bit agitated, but I do think that what is going on behind the scenes, and Celtic will have reinforcements in by then. The only concern would be that they need to hit the ground running. They're in for the most lucrative game of the season, the biggest game of the Celtic season, essentially, is this two-legged playoff that's coming up. It's worth £40 million to the club. So there's no bigger game than this one coming up in August. So I think the Celtic board, they come in for pelters. Yes, they're accused of penny pinching, etc., etc. It seems to be a recurring theme that they leave things late in the transfer window before getting deals over the line. But they have spent money. They have spent big in recent years, despite what people might say. And I do think they will spend big again this season. But they do need to get players in quickly. And if that means pushing the boat out for another winger, then they'll need to do it before that Champions League registration deadline. That's for sure.
I feel like it's the same movie we're watching over and over again. I feel like other clubs seem to get it done really quickly, and you're spot on when you say that. Obviously, this game, whoever it's against, this two-legged playoff, is the most important game of the season. So why not prepare like it's the most? Why not get the players in? And you mentioned Yang there. I don't know if you share this opinion, but I thought when Rodgers said that in Como, he said, he got asked, is Yang going to Norwich City? And he said, well, not at the minute. He's a starting player for me. And I almost thought that was a bit of a veiled message. Yeah. Like, I'm having to say Yang's now a starter.
Yeah, I mean, Yang's come on leaps and bounds since this time last year. He really has, and I think that's actually down to Brendan Rodgers. But yeah, the fact that he's now considered as an automatic first team starter, I think you're right, Dan. I think that was maybe a thinly veiled kind of message to the board, like get me signings in, get them in now. He's a great impact player from the bench, but Celtic needs somebody that can come in and they can hang their hat on for these two games, and that's what I mean. Although I'm kind of relaxed about the situation at the minute, I do feel that if they're going to have, even if there's one player to come in, it's got to be a winger. It's absolutely got to be a winger. That's got to be the priority, because you can't. All it takes is an injury to James Forrest or an injury to Yang, and then you're left with Marco Tilio outright. And I'm sorry, that lad's just not it at all.
That's what I was going to say. With no harm, no harm to him, but he's not a Celtic player.
Yeah, it's absolutely no harm to him at all. He's he seems like a nice lad. He's obviously doing his best out there. He's had his chance over pre-season. He's looked okay in flashes, but yeah, he's not going to be Celtic's answer going forward. And I think obviously once they finally get a winger over the line, then Tilo will be allowed to move to Rapid Vienna. So he's deemed surplus to requirements, and all it takes is one injury for him to be starting that Champions League playoff, and that just can't be allowed. So yep, there's work to be done. I understand why Celtic fans are getting frustrated. There might be a banner or two on Sunday when the league flags are unfurled. A couple of messages to the board, but I think come that deadline on Thursday, August the 14th, they will have at least one winger in.
So if we mention, just to quickly round off on the transfer talk, we mentioned Inamura could fill the left back slot. Yes. Simpson Pusey could be the defender. I agree with you wholeheartedly. They need a winger yesterday. Are there any other positions that you think badly need filled? I mean, a lot of people talking about a striker, perhaps, even two wingers, maybe.
Two wingers for me. Two wingers, definitely.
Two wingers.
I think I can see Celtic spending kind of big on a winger and then having another, maybe bring someone else on loan. Because obviously Jota's injured until early 2026. I don't know if you're going to see the best of Jota this season. So it might be a stopgap signing for Jota. But they definitely need at least one winger. I would argue too. And a striker, I think they need a goal scorer. It remains to be seen if Shin Yamada is going to be the man that fills Kyogo's boots, but I think they need an out-and-out goal scorer. So if Yamada does that in the early games, then there might not be as much urgency to get another kind of front man in. But in a minute, I would definitely say for me, you're looking at another centre-back. I still think you need a central midfielder in there. A defensive midfielder, like I've said it before, a powerhouse like Victor Wanyama, who can play against Europe's elite. Two wingers and a striker. That's I think that would be my shopping list if I was Brendan Rodgers.
I meant to say to you that someone on social media a couple of weeks ago when we had this similar chat, and we both said, "Oh, you need a Wanyama type." Someone replied saying, "If you need a Wanyama type, sign Wanyama." It's a fair point. He's still out there.
He's still unattached, but judging by his performances with Dunfermline last season,
maybe that ship sailed.
Yeah, I think maybe that ship sailed about 5-6 years ago.
Realistically, though, right? So, what did you list there? What, 4 or 5 positions, right? Yeah. 5 positions. Do you think Celtic will get all that done?
Yeah,
are you confident they will?
There's money in the bank of Parkhead, as fans like to call it. There's money there to be spent. £17 million from Kuhn. Obviously, the windfall they got from Jeremy Frimpong.
Oh, there's plenty of money now.
Obviously, Mike Rocky's went out on loan. They've saved wages in hand. I think there's been something to it, like including B team players. I think there's been like 17 exits this summer, which is staggering. And I think there's only been 6 or 7 incomings. So, and for me, the only incomings that are really first team ready are possibly Inamura, but definitely Kieran Tierney and Ben Nygren. Otherwise, the other lads, Shin Yamada as well, I would say, sorry. But otherwise, likes of Callum Osman, I don't see him featuring at all this season, really. But yeah, there's definitely work to be done.